Hey legends, James Russell TradieVA, and every week on the Time Rich Tradie, we find out what it takes to build a trade empire, get you off those tools, and hopefully not spend 80 hours a week doing it. If you like what you hear, subscribe to get more juice. And today we're looking about going from stability to scale, specifically in for builders and construction industry, and working on a business that doesn't need to be so lonely. And today we have really valued guest, good friend, and a longtime client and friend of mine, Josh from Lean to Construction, with us today. And hey, Josh, thanks for coming on. And let's start with you, mate, your background.
I started Lean to as a subcontractor in 2014 and then jump forward 10 years. I've got a crew of 10. We run 3 to 4 jobs at a time. We train apprentices up. We sponsor local events here in Jindy. It's just turned into this thing that I'd never even dreamed of when I started just doing my own thing. But yeah, so we're a construction company, not just a building company. We will dabble in a bit of commercial work as well, just to keep the jobs flowing and a bit of cash flow up as well. We've got contracts with national parks. We've also done a lot of work for a lot of builders here in Jindy as well. And then our main focus has always been custom homes. And over the last few years, we've been slowly just stepping up incrementally into that more high-end market.
And so a lot of people ask, and I talk to a lot of builders who are going through that kind of valley of death kind of moment where they're going, oh, this is totally not just me being a chippy anymore. And is this what they call a business? Okay. Give me a little bit of an idea of what that moment was for you and what that looked like as you were navigating it, going from, yeah, just being a chippy through to business.
So I was doing a lot of subcontracting work for other builders. I'd done my builder's license, like my certificate, and got the license years beforehand. I was working in the ski industry. I got sucked into that. So that took up a lot of my time and still does. But I basically got to the point where it's a little bit of the Wild West around the ski resorts because it's all commercial work, so you don't need to have a license to be up there. And there are some really good tradesmen up there, don't get me wrong, but there's also a few cowboys up there that do some weird stuff. And we were coming in and fixing a lot of that as a team of carpenters and quite often stepping past our normal roles and responsibilities to make these jobs come to life. So it got to the point where we were sick of working for older builders that were cracking the whip. You've got to be budget conscious in the industry like this, but at the same token, it was that old school mentality of you work and there's no fun on site either. So I got to the point where I just sat back and had a little bit of a light bulb moment. I'm fixing stuff for guys who have been building for 20 plus years, which is fine. Like that, they weren't traditional chippies. They'd come from other trades and were building houses, and they were relying on guys with knowledge to get them through. So for me, it was like, I've got the knowledge, I've got the team, why not me? Like, why can't I be doing this? And it basically started there. And then I just wandered blindly into the valley, and here we are, 10
And
years.
that was, I guess, that state again. We're talking about going from stable, like you're a business. What triggered that shift from doing that, hustling, hoping, and doing it all yourself? Like you said, stumbling through the
Yeah.
valley of death. What
Yeah.
triggered the shift? What triggered the shift to wanting to actually grow and scale and make this a business?
I think I can't remember the name for it, but it's like you've got your 4 points in business, right? Where you're naive and you don't know what you don't know, but you think you're going to be fine. And then all of a sudden something happens and then you know that you don't know. And I got to one of those points in my business where I had a client holding money on a final payment, which was the most money that we'd ever dealt with up until that point. I had no systems and procedures for invoicing. I had no systems and procedures for how we managed our financials. I was basically winging it. We weren't living paycheck to paycheck, but we didn't have a budget. We didn't really look at our P&Ls. We were quite financially illiterate. And it just got to the point where I started looking for stuff, and I started finding Profit First for Tradies, found that before I found anything, and then went into business coaching and then started learning how to run a business when you're doing your Cert 4 at TAFE. You learn everything
Mhm.
else about building a house, but you don't learn anything about managing clients, setting expectations, vetting clients so that you're already pre-qualified before they start wasting your time. Like there's just none of that in place whatsoever.
So you started working on yourself, really.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
started looking and just went, I don't like this. I was quite stressed. I had my first panic attack
Yeah.
at the ripe old age of about 28. So middle of the night, I called the paramedics and was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I'm having a heart attack. And the paramedics got there and put the ECG on and everything. And they were like, so tell me what's going on at the moment. I was like, I'm just buying a house. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Rah, rah. And they're like, do you think
Panic
you
attack.
might be stressed? And I was like, no, I never get stressed. And they're like, okay. And then sure enough, went to the doctor, was facing burnout and all that sort of stuff. And it was like, okay, what we're doing isn't working because I'm quite highly strung and I woke up in the middle of the night pretty worse off than what I should be.
You said was profit first for tradies like
Yes.
that. So you obviously thinking about money at the time, that whole budgets, and
Yeah.
that was what came up.
I think financial stress for any business is
Yeah.
probably at the top of the pyramid.
Would you say that's a real, that looking back, you're really glad that was a first step? Would you, if you were
Yeah.
going to give advice to other trades, say, get your money right first?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was game changer. As soon as that got sorted, we got a bit of a war chest build up and we had a buffer. I knew where to put things straight away. I put my tax away out of every single paycheck that came in or every invoice that came in.
Yeah.
So I know everything down to my percentages now. As soon as $100 comes in, I know what percentage of that $100 to put where. And I've got all
Yeah.
the accounts that Katie from the Australian version of Profit First for Tradies will, because there's versions in every country. But yeah, have all the accounts set up. That changed instantly. Like I reckon within 3 to 6 months, my whole mindset shifted around the business. I actually felt like everything was achievable, and then beyond that, it just scaled up from there. So
Beautiful. So again, I guess that's the thing is a lot of people get to that point of overwhelm. It's finding that place to start. And
yeah,
so once you started to get, I guess, some of those base structures, now obviously build a business, you got to start stepping off the tools, right?
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what, because obviously a lot of people are going through that right now. What is it? What was hard about being like the guy on site to moving into a leadership role?
It's hard. It's hard. There's imposter syndrome because if you've got a good team and you've been on the tools, why the hell do I deserve to sit in an office and do nothing all day? But you don't do nothing. You're working your little ringer out, but that's what it feels like. And then, yeah, trusting your team to do the right thing. I think there's a very big difference between trusting your team to get the job done and the job, as long as the end result is what you've taught your staff and you've set the expectations, then it's okay if it doesn't get done exactly
Yeah.
the way you want. Because if you start micromanaging, your team will fall apart because they'll start resenting you and all that sort of thing. Our crew is quite young as well. That was part of my vision for Lean To, is that we wanted to have a younger crew, and I would train and teach guys, even though I'm similar age to them, but I've been doing it for maybe a decade longer than easily half the crew. But that comes with its own challenges too. So stepping into leadership's been a massive learning curve. It's not as easy. Some people are pretty gifted at it. If you've been a team captain or something like that, you can just stroll in, people will follow you. Like Kyle Zanetto's a pretty good off the cuff leader. You know, he seems to play his Pied Pipe and everyone follows him along, which is great. And he's just, without trying, it looks effortless for him. And he's one of those people that I pay attention to and follow a little bit along with what he does, because everyone's got to have their own style.
I was
But
about to say the fact that even bringing up that objective focused mentality, and I've seen that with the way you work with your remote talent as well, as this idea of you can tell someone what or you can tell them how, but you don't tell them both.
yeah,
And I've seen that with you, and it's part of the reason why you're on here today and why we actually called this not being lonely, because when people get the why, you're not
yeah,
micromanaging and still doing it yourself, just with robots, right?
yeah, exactly, exactly. Like
Um,
I think that's something we've been a little bit slack on it lately, but within the team itself, like with the culture, we work 9 day fortnights now, which I think Paul, my TradieVA talent, doesn't know what to do with himself on that ninth day off, but because he loves to work. But I made sure that was extended to him, just the same as the rest of the team, because he's exactly the same as the rest of us. He just lives in the Philippines. But so we do that for our crew.
no, I guess
Yeah.
I'm just looking at how that objective, like keeping it's that culture, right, that you're building
Yes.
as a leader.
Yeah.
Going,
Yeah.
this is the whole idea of going from you being it's your identity. It's
Yeah.
you, Josh is lean to construction, to
Yeah. I've
You
got it
being
now.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got. So I always tried to build the team up. So then, like on the Fridays where we are at work, it'll either be a countery for lunch. I'll take them to the pub and we'll sit down, and it'll just be like, I'll pay us for the extra 15 minutes, and we'll go to the pub for an hour. We'll all have a light beer, have a burger and chips or whatever, and we all just sit around and catch up basically. Because if we've got different sites and no one sees each other,
Yeah.
so it's a good way for them to engage and stuff like that. And then we're looking at buying a lean-to golf cart for the local golf course. And the boys will just be able to go and jump on that because we all play golf. Just little things like that, because at the end of the day, you spend most of your time at work during the week. And if you're not happy there, then what's the point? So we've always tried to just make sure it's a safe, not a safe place, because I hate, like, it should be a safe place, but that's a bit cliche for me. On a Friday, we wear our trademark shirts, and we joke that if you don't have your trademark shirt on, we don't want to know about your feelings. So we do value mental health at the same time. So try to make this environment where I don't feel lonely when I walk on site, because I am in the office a lot of the time. And when I walk on site today, when I had my tool belt on because I had to go fix something, straight away one of the boys came up with some cobwebs out of the eave and went, "Oh, that's for your nail bag, mate," and chucked it in there. And I was like, oh. Straight away, you're one of the boys and you're all laughing and carrying on, and the work's getting done.
That kind of culture doesn't happen by accident, but it also doesn't happen without going through some downs as well. So I guess a lot of people here are going, okay, what are the lessons that I can learn from you that I don't have to learn myself? So what would you say is one of the biggest mistakes in this transition period that you made as you were scaling and becoming that leader?
Being too nice as a leader,
Mm.
there's a balance to strike there. I
What does
could,
that look like for you?
I used to be a little bit soft. I have in the past not spoken up soon enough. And then by the time you do speak up, there can be an issue and it's too far gone. So one thing I've learned over the last few years is just as soon as something, like if you see something, say something. So instead of it festering and not getting addressed and being swept under the rug or ignored, just bring it up calmly, professionally, friendly, and go, "Hey, just been noticing this. Is everything okay at home? What's going on? Or are you just having a shit day? Like, is there a reason this is happening?" If they go, "Nah, just over it," and you go, "Okay, that doesn't really suit us. So what are we going to do about it?" 90% of the time, it's fine and it all gets
Yeah.
worked out. But the lesson I learned from being too soft and too nice, trying to be everyone's buddy, you can end up creating a bit of a toxic culture in the team,
Yeah.
because as a leader, it's your job to lead, and leading
Yeah.
isn't always, not every day is a diamonds. Some days
And I
it's
think that kind of leads on to it's great to have this amazing culture and that you can walk in and be one of the boys for that moment. But at the end of the day, you're not. That is where some of the people I talk to get a bit lonely as far as their friend circle.
yeah.
Talk to me about how you went about as you transitioned here, building your support network, both with colleagues, friends, but also around mentors, advisors, community. What did that look like for you? How did you build that?
Where I live is quite transient. So a lot of the people that drift through Jindy are unskilled. So they haven't been to uni or TAFE. They're living in shared houses and stuff like that. And as I grew and my business grew, your lives take different paths, right? Like we all still hang out and I love seeing them, but they don't really understand what it's like to run a business, and I've got more responsibilities and stuff. So I've slowly separated away, which is what happens. And then people move away anyway. So as the housing prices here have gone up, people can't afford to live and they've gone out towards Berrydale and 20 minutes away where it's a bit cheaper and they can afford to live. So like I've probably got a bit lonelier over the last few years as people have moved away. But what I found helped was you find what you're looking for. So I was looking for business coaching and all that sort of thing. And the people that I met through that business coaching, it was builder specific business coaching. So all the people
Yeah.
in there, you had a shit day with someone not paying their invoice, you go in their event and the people would be like, "Oh, I hate that." So they know you can relate to them straight away. That was a big help. And then the guys that I've met through that, your Robbie Cruyers, Kyle Zanetto, and then yeah, a few of those guys. So that's really helped. I quite often just if I've had enough after a couple of months, I'll jump on a plane and shoot down to Tassie and catch up with Kyle.
Nice.
So
They don't need to be geographically close anymore, right? These guys are
no,
all in Australia.
no, it's the time lost. That's probably the hardest bit traveling. But now I've got the VAs and stuff. I can keep the balls and the cogs turning, balls rolling while I'm on the plane, or if I want to go away for a weekend. I don't. I found if you go away too much, you can have a negative effect as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you surround yourself with people that get it, the old summary of you are the five people that you hang out with the most. So yeah, I changed up who I was hanging around, which helped. And then, yeah, you just make sure you're going out and doing stuff for yourself, whether that be you go to the gym or I shoot clays competitively as well. So I go out and catch up with those guys every now and then. Snowboarding's about to happen. It was 2 degrees last night. So the white stuff's
That's
coming.
it.
So you'll be down there in a couple of months.
That, and again, so it's really good to understand. Obviously, there's why. That's the why, and then
Yeah.
you've got the people around you. What I want to just jump into, because I love systems,
Yeah.
is you started to get the profit first. You obviously got the people around you to make sure that you can grow this. But I know, again, looking at people, so many options of things that they need to make better. You had nothing, right? You had you started with that. What would you say the first 1 to 2 processes or systems that made the biggest difference that you got sorted? You mentioned one, which is that bookkeeping side, right? What else was the next thing that you got sorted that made the biggest difference?
Job management software.
Yeah.
I'm still changing the way I manage my role here. That's how I keep Paul entertained as well. When Paul's watching it. Good job. The other day we turned around and went, we're going to overhaul everything we do and the way we do it because I want everything in one spot. I'm sick of being on 5 different platforms for everything. You and me, one vein, open, transparent, job done. Job management software will do that for you no matter how big or small you are. If you're only
Yeah.
a little guy, your SimPros, your TradieVAs, your cheaper ones for sure. Jump into them. I started on Tradify. It was great. It made sure my invoicing was happening relatively.
Yeah.
And then the bookkeeping helps because if you've got someone doing your invoicing for you, it means you don't put the invoices off until you can do them. And it means your cash flow comes in like clockwork each week. Now, if you put it off for 2, 3 days, guess what? You're not going to get paid for another 2, 3 days. It's that simple.
Getting the money right, getting the books right,
And
getting the job management software, just get in and get it done.
prophecy because you get stressed because you haven't been paid yet. So you don't put the invoices in because you're doing more work to get more invoices to pay the money, but you can't have time to put the invoices in. And then all of a sudden you've got all these undone invoices. And like I would sit there, I'd get to the point where you'd be 8 to 6 weeks without putting an invoice in and you probably had 120, 150K owing. And you're like, if I'd just done the work, it would have been done. So those job management software is really good because you can keep purchase orders to like costs allocated to projects. You can invoice on site even,
Yeah.
like when you leave, you can log it all in if your itemizing is good enough and you can just go, I put in a new door jamb, architraves, it's this much already pre-calced. Here you go, Mr. Smith. Here's the invoice. You can pay it right now if you like, or you can pay by credit card, whatever. So like it helped. It did help a lot.
So you mentioned there about just getting that work you need to work on the business to get this done. And how do you balance that day-to-day stuff with the strategic planning and the business development?
So I got the idea off a couple of guys, and then I've twisted it and turned it into my own thing. But I don't have the book up there. But systemology. So James Brown is the guy we were liaising with. He's based out of Adelaide. So he helped us set up our filing system, and then I basically stole that idea and turned it into my weekly roster. So
Like
what that
time
looks
blocking kind of thing?
like,
Like time blocking?
it's
Yeah.
like time blocking, but not. So I used to time block and it was great,
Yeah.
but I use it as an overarching time block. So, like, for instance, if I pull up my calendar on a Wednesday, it's HR and finances.
And so it's kind of like departmental
Yeah.
focuses. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
in my
Okay.
filing system, I have a 8-part system and I have administration, marketing, sales, finance, operations, management, HR, and then personal, and then the feed. So what I've done is go through the week and I've allocated those. Essentially, there's the 7 sections of the business. They're the overarching 7 segments of the business. Everything that I have in the business can get portholed into one of those things. It's either administration or it's marketing or it's operations, and then that's where people can go to find everything. I don't have a business partner. I've got a VA now. Thanks to TradieVA. But what I've done in my calendar is I've taken those filing systems and allocated them to a day in the week. So now if today's a bit different, I don't know where I put the podcast. Normally I would put it on like marketing maybe
Yep.
or even operations potentially. But
Yep.
like on a Monday and Friday, operations bookmarks the week. So I can start the week off saying this is what I've got to do for all my jobs. And then I finish the week off on a Friday going, this is what I didn't get done and I need to action for next week, blah, blah, blah. And then all the daily definites happen in the morning before all that stuff. So it means I get
And
through the
it-
day and have time for doing things specifically within the
and
business.
that's coming up to 5:30 and you've got boundless energy. So I've got to give some of the listeners here a little bit of these habits that you've got in your life that are keeping you
Yeah.
with the energy because this is not normal, right? And the listeners will know most people are routed by now. I mean, I'm not saying you're not tired, but what are the weekly habits that keep you focused and the ones that let you recharge?
So just setting up a schedule basically. So those overarching things, I do a hour and a half in the office every Sunday, and it's
Mhm.
like a quick 20-minute reset, a little self one-on-one. What went well this week? What didn't? What are our top priorities for the week? Clean the desk because the desk is a good look into the soul and how it's feeling at the current time. And then I make sure that throughout the week I've just got everything prepped. Paul and I are having a tops meeting. We have that. I just make sure I put things in their place, and that's when I work on them. Look at
Unclosed loops, right? Yeah.
yeah, when you've got 25 tabs open, you don't know what's going on in there. You don't even know what's in those tabs. Whereas it's the same with your brain. If you've got all these unopened loops. So Sunday as well, you go through your text messages and you answer any unanswered text. You go through your email and you either action anything that needs to happen or answer anything that's been getting bumped down the line in Asana or snoozed all week. Answer that gets rid of that. And then, I make sure the gym's booked in. Audiobooks, if I have to do a trip to Canberra, because we pick up a lot of materials from Canberra, there's 4 hours that I can listen to an audiobook. So I always each month pick a new audiobook, and whether it be finances or personal development, or I think I just finished one by Jocko Willink
Oh,
on
yeah.
leadership, which was really good. And then just making sure I book in time with mates, book in time with my partner, because as soon as I stop prioritizing that, that probably creates 90% of my problems anyway, because then I'm stressed because I'm not looking after my partner. Then home's not good, and then that trickles down into work, and you're not sleeping properly, and all that sort of thing. I make sure that I'm being present at home and in my personal life as much as I'm present at work. That's probably the secret, I think, if you can do both of them. I don't always get it right. Just prioritizing yourself, because I think Mick Hawes, when I did all my years with them, put your own oxygen mask on first. When you're in the plane and
Yeah.
the plane's going down, what do you do?
And I guess that's the thing is like the who we're talking to today is those people who are stable but stretched. They get it, but
Yeah,
they're stretched. And I guess what I like to finish these always on is something that they can walk away with right now and say, okay, if I had three things that over the next couple of months that I absolutely focused on doing that would make everything else easier or inevitable.
get your finances sorted. Financial stress will keep you up at night. It will be the cancer in your brain that when you're meant to be present at home with the wife or the kids or whoever, you'll have this little gnawing thing in the back of your head going, you need to do this, you need to do that. Sort your finances out. Do it for yourself. You'll be heaps less stressed. Sort your time out. You deserve to have some free time, so schedule it in, because if you don't schedule your free time in, you will never have free time. It's that simple. A business is a monster that will just eat your time and money. So schedule it in, be disciplined with your own time, because if you're not going to be disciplined with your own time, no one else will. And then just start looking for what you think you need. Because once you
Yeah,
start looking, you find it. Like it's that
yeah,
simple. I started looking for a business coach. I found Black Belt was really good to me, and that I wouldn't be who I was without that coach. And that's the coach that I found that got me through that period in my life. So don't be afraid to try new things either. Because what's the definition of insanity? If you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. Try new things. That won't all work. Some of the stuff I've tried, I've changed job management softwares 4 times in the last 3 years. And I'm probably looking at changing again.
that's it, man. That's okay. So
Yeah,
again, it's totally all right to go test and measure. Now,
exactly.
the
Yeah.
last thing I'd love to leave everyone with is go back to your younger self when you were just starting out. What is either what you would warn him with or encourage him with? Little Josh, back then when he's just said, I can fucking do this. What do you tell him?
You can do this. Everyone is thinking about scaling. It is possible. If I can do it, anyone else can do it. There's a lot. But I think the one thing I've learned that I would go back and tell little Josh is that daily actions that have purpose over a long period of time have huge results. Yeah. I don't get it right every day. Progress looks like this some days, looks like this other days. But if you are constantly showing up, you're doing the work, eventually you'll be where you want to be.
Thanks, Josh, for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to have you part of the family, and obviously with Paul as well. If you got something out of this, or you got a good friend out there for your listener and who needs to hear this as they're going through that valley of death, share it, give them subscribe. There's obviously a lot more like it. And looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Catch you then.